Welcome to the Bilingual Summit, I Am Alive, a ceremonial 5-day event where we invite you to liberate your essence, celebrate your life, its cycles, your sexuality, and every breath and heartbeat. My name is Amalai, and together with Mark Guerrero, we are the creators of this summit. It is such an honor, and I am so happy to share the space today with Adriana Pickering. Adriana is a yoga teacher, a healer, a herbalist, and Akashic Records healer. And today, she's going to share with us this subject, embracing death to live. Welcome, Adriana. I am so excited we are here.
Thank you very much. I am so honored to be part of this summit. It's been a great invitation and a great deal for me to prepare for this beautiful subject that we all avoid and that it's time to integrate more and more. Embracing death to live.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and before we start diving into embracing death to live, I have one question for you, Adriana. And the question is, what makes Adriana feel alive every day? Feel alive, yes.
That's a great question. And from the spiritual perspective, right? What makes me feel alive every day is cultivating the present moment. And it's really, really hard. And it's work that takes mindfulness and takes an effort. It's not easy, right? Because our minds are always trying to stay in the past or try to go to the future. But staying in the present moment is what is keeping me alive, what's keeping me embodied, what's keeping me grounded, and what is keeping me aware of this moment is not coming back because it's dying. So in order to come back to life and to presence, it's really important to try as hard as we can to stay in the present and enjoy the present regardless what it is, right? Navigate it, I will say.
Yeah, that's the reason that we say that this is the eternal now. Like that's the most beautiful gift that we have received is this present moment. And this is the one that is constant, is always and ever present in our life, even though we sometimes forget to be in this only moment where we have the chance to create.
Absolutely, we do forget all the time. Sometimes we are thinking of very old things and resentments and keeping those things in our hearts, or we're suffering in advance, the way I call it, right? Because we're creating all these scenarios in our mind of things that haven't even happened yet, or they probably will never even happen, and we're so upset and tired and sad about it. So yeah, my task every day to stay alive is come back to the present moment, live in the eternal now, like you're saying.
Yes, and I believe, and what I sense the last weeks and months, it becomes more important to be in the present moment, because there is so many things happening everywhere in our lives around us that, yes, I cannot imagine if I stay a lot of time into the possible futures that sometimes it doesn't look good. Only when I return to the present is when everything is like, it feels everything okay.
And even if it's challenging, right? Because we're not saying that every day is going to be a bed of roses, because that's what life is. But even if it's challenging, staying in the present moment is the answer. So that you just mentioned something really important, that when something happens to us, and it's not something that I'm just bringing into the awareness as a new thing, it's been around forever. So psychologically, right, we want to leave when pain is too great, and even like trauma therapists talk about dissociation. So we're constantly trying to like leave, go somewhere else, not be present because it's painful or because it's bothersome, but it's part of that spiritual path that is going to allow us to grow and to also heal as we are in the present moment, because we can face the challenge in so many different ways. I mean, there are light beings, friends, tribe, healers. I mean, there's so much help available, even though the times are very challenging. So if we choose to stay in that present moment, then the help is going to come.
Yeah.
And I mean, I speak for myself, but I know working with clients and sensing the pulse of these times, they're very hard. And everyone just, like we've been forced. The pandemic has been a mechanism that we've been forced to be in our homes, to be present. You can't escape that horrible reality. So in a way, it's a blessing, right? Every hardship is an opportunity to grow, and being in the present moment has that good thing. Like I'm always taking that opportunity, even if it's hard, to grow and then to face challenges and also to savor the good moments as well.
Yes.
Everything passes, right? The good, the bad, everything is temporary. So I'm in this body, and then you have to remember that it's important to savor that and learn the lessons for the ones that are not very enjoyable.
I would say that's kind of the mastery of being in this body and in this incarnation here. And this has been a perfect segue to start diving into the death, because here we are talking about death and how difficult it is to face death in different ways.
Absolutely. That's another subject that no one wants to talk about. No one wants to say, yeah, it's, in order to die, we need to be alive. And I mean, there's not one without the other. And we talked about this event before, and we mentioned that people do not want to talk about it at all, because it's a subject that it's not good. It just brings bad luck or bad energy, or people think it's not going to happen to them, or it's just even too painful to remember those that have been already transcended or gone. But the truth is that every minute that we spend in this body is a minute that we're dying. And there's no life without death. And it's a natural process that it's important to start to embrace, which takes us to the present moment again, right? Because it will make us maximize the opportunity to be in this body. There's a teacher that I follow. His name is Swami Purna. And Swami Purna speaks about death and life beautifully. And there's also a book that I would like to recommend, and that's more available. The second one I'm going to mention is by Sadhguru, and he has a book about death, and it's pretty interesting how he tells the story, and how really this that we're talking about, if someone wants to go deeper into the subject, it's a really good book to read. And then Swami Purna always says, there's a book that he wrote, and I don't know exactly which one of them it is right now, because he has several and I've written all of them. And but he says that to be alive in a body is a privilege and it's not a right. So when we think about that, we always take everything for granted. We wake up, we're, if it's too early, it's too early. If it's too late, it's too late. Like there's always something to complain about. The weather, receive, and all of that is absolutely taking us away from realizing the privilege, and also realizing that as we are in a body, we have senses, right? Like we have touch, we have beautiful things to see, we have the sense of smell, the sense of taste, and if we were not embodied, we wouldn't have that. So all those experiences are enhancing our experience in a body, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So if we were to deny death or not embrace it as part of this process, it's like not being alive at all. We have the yogis always talk about that we have a certain amount of breaths as we, and then our last exhale, that's it. So we must make the best for it and celebrate the privilege of being in a body and being, having connections with our loved ones and receiving lessons, even though they're really challenging.
Yes, yes, and we see that in our surroundings. We see that in nature. We see it through the cycles, through the seasons. Even if somebody says, oh, but I only have dry and wet season, even then, even in those cases, well, the trees, their leaves of the trees, they fall, and then they start also sprouting again and flourishing after. So it's like the cycle, it goes. And we see it in the animals, in our beautiful companions, that how they have a short time, shorter than we experience usually in the average age or time. So we see it. There is no way for us to escape, even if we want to ignore it.
Right, absolutely. And appreciating that transformation also, right? Because
Yes.
it's the time that we are choosing to leave a body to go into a different process of life as well, because it's not the end, right? And that's important to remember. It's not the end. And yes, it's painful to not be able to hug our loved ones or not be able to have a conversation the ways that we are used to. But it's also important to remember that the separation between that spirit world and this material world is only a veil. And we can keep them in our hearts. We can develop ways to connect and talk to them or feel their presence. I mean, we have no choice, right? We have no choice. That's, as you said, is the natural time. And if we see the cycles of the seasons, like you mentioned, and even like every time we change as humans or that we go through a process, we experience a mini death. We are constantly dying. So also, if we were to talk about this transformation of death, as we die, to just leave all the patterns that are no longer serving us and live freely, right, from our essence, because that's another really important subject that I wanted to share. So that transformation, that death that is everywhere, is also a cycle that could be embraced by us in order to thrive and heal spiritually. And you see that cycle everywhere, like even in our breath, right? Like we inhale, then we send the air whatever needs to go, and then we exhale, which is the death of that specific breath, and it will never come back. So everything as we are in this body is temporary, and we need to make the most of it in terms of using that privilege that was given to us and learn as much and thrive and heal as much as we can. So that is really important, to embrace death as part of the natural cycle, and then die the old me, the one that is not thriving because it's been conditioned by beliefs that I have created or that has been transmitted to me by my family, or beliefs from society that are telling me, oh, well, in order for you to be successful, you need to have this by this age, or you need to look like this, or you need to behave like this. And all of those learned behaviors and patterns that are affecting me, all really, right? So in a way, death also could be embraced in that way. So you are stripped voluntarily, you die, your old self is dying, your ego that is being identified with all those principles is absolutely, it's dying. And then the more true and real you is coming up, and it's living. But it's just really a way to see and perceive how this privilege, this gift is.
It's an invitation with everything you share. It's an invitation to everybody to start talking about death. And I can tell, or I can talk for myself, that there was a time that I was avoiding the topic, that it wasn't like a topic that I wanted to talk about or deal with. And even when I experienced, I would say, the death of one of my child companions, a pet that grew with me, I kind of promised to myself, okay, no more animals, no more pets, because their span of life is so short, that means that I will be going through this pain. So I was trying to avoid when I was a child, and nobody explained to me about death. Nobody kind of talked to me more about it. And I was like very little when those things happens. And then I realized, like, it's so important to talk it openly without fear, because then we learn to enjoy life, and we learn to enjoy every moment with every beloved ones that we have around ourselves.
Exactly, because it's not a given, right? It's a privilege.
It's a
Being
privilege.
embodied, getting to know you, getting to spend time with my family, offering these things every day is an offering. Every day is sacred, because we know that there's a limited number of interactions as I breathe. And so it makes life so much more sacred, and then makes me realize, what am I sacrificing from my true essence that I'm not bringing into as the real me, because I'm not expecting death. And then if we see, I mean, our side of the world, right? Other cultures just see it as, even the rite itself is very different, right? In Latin American countries, funerals are very hard, and a lot of people are crying, and it's very tragic. And you would think, right, everyone's dying, and it's not taking the emotional and the pain, because that will be there no matter what, right? Like, a loved one is departing, it's transitioning, and all of us will have to go through the grief process that takes, and heal from that loss, right? But it's a transformation that everyone's going to go through. It's inevitable. And in other cultures, it's more as a celebration of life. And it's a more of remembering who that person was. And then that tragic element is not so present. And it's more like, okay, well, it's transitioning into, it's the time. It's what happened. So yes, speaking openly about death is important, and offering our healing and our intention as a privilege that is limited makes life very different.
It gives a permission as well, I would say, as you just said, to be truth with you and to be authentic with your essence, because you want to give the best. And I read somewhere also that when we are in our last minutes of life, I would say, usually there is a lot of regret for people that they didn't do things they wanted, like they were not able, like, to allow that essence and that truth it visits them at that time. So, and it visits us anytime when we don't have the chance to share something with our beloved ones that are already departed to continue their own evolution. And we said, okay, there is like no present, there is like no physicality to experience something. So I believe what you share is like bringing and being yourself fully is the best gift we can give to ourselves and to the people that we love.
Absolutely. And honor that privilege of being embodied, right? And not take it for granted. Because if we are so disconnected, and if we are so immersed into society rules, for example, or inherited beliefs from my family, or even my own biased beliefs from pain that I've experienced in the past, then that is going to disconnect me from that essence. And it might not let me act because of fear or trauma, or even like a preconceived idea that is incorrect, and it's holding me back from experiencing my biggest potential and my essence. And then, like you said, when the time comes, I'm gonna regret that I didn't do this or that or the other, or even like feeling that it's too late. So it's not fair to leave with that feeling, or it's really important to connect and talk about openly. Yes, every day that is passing, I'm dying. Every minute I'm dying. This minute is never coming back. That's how life is, and that's why it's precious, and that's why it's really sacred, and that's why it's important to connect and give that secrecy that I keep talking about over and over as that privilege that has been granted to us to embody, to
Yes.
be Denise Amalai, to be Adriana, right? And then each little piece of us, or essence, is coming to complete this divine plan. This divine plan that is bigger than even can we even acknowledge it, right? But we all have to give something that no one else can in the infinite of the universe. And that's why all of it is tied up. We celebrate life and we suffer death, but we need to start talking about it openly as the transition that it is, because we are all going to experience it. We are all going there, and we need to make the best of it as we are enjoying the privilege of being alive.
Yes. And with that also, what comes is also celebrating the life. If someone passed away, I believe, yes, usually we learn to cry and to be sad. And I believe that does not happen everywhere in the rituals of saying goodbye to somebody. But also what I found is how beautiful you will feel the pain, for sure. I think so. Like most of the people will feel the pain within, but at the same time, it's a celebration for the life, for the experiences, for everything that the person has left behind, those memories. So when we allow to celebrate, at least that's how I see it, it is a way to embrace that soul that has departed, to keep living, because then we need to release also that person, and it's so important to release, to allow them to continue follow their own path, and their soul to choose what they want to do. So that letting go, it's very important. And I'm talking about physical death, but it happened, as you mentioned, also in our everyday lives. We are continually dying, personalities, identities that we created. And yeah, it's letting them go. It's like, okay, I need to let them go. I'm not that person anymore, and it's fine.
Exactly. And if you think about who you were when you were 14, that 14-year-old is dead. And right. And then you can look back and send love to that, but it had to die in order to become who you are right now.
Yes.
And yeah, so death is part of life. Like there's no way to separate them. If we separate them, then we're disconnected. Because even if nature, right, like there are the creators, and then if you see it in the plants, right, they go through the perfect cycle. Little seed that sprouts, then the plant grows, then it brings the flowers, it brings the fruit, that the fruits ripen, and then it goes through the cycle all over again. The leaves go down, it gets dry, right? It's like a death during the winter, and then starts all over again.
Yes.
Over and over. And those little seeds that came from the fruit that are expanding every week. And it's really interesting because the number 3 is very connected to this whole subject, right? Because there's creation, there's preservation, and there's transformation or death. And in yoga, specifically Tantra, we talk about that cycle as the cycle that will give us the opportunity over and over, because it's in the breath, because it's in the universe, because it's in sync with everything in nature, that will allow us to grow the soul, as the essence, as that when we live this body, we'll have gained a lot of experience and it will happen. So, and they connect that cycle with gods, right? Like Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preservator, and then Shiva is the destructor. So, and it's not a matter of like how many gods or deities are there. It's just like this explanation of the three is that number of creation, preservation, destruction that is in nature. It's in our breath.
And what
breath. Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend, like for someone that has not related yet or has not opened themselves to death? What would you recommend that they can do?
Well, to begin with, I would do yoga is a great way to start, right? The end of every yoga class, there's a pose called Shavasana, which in Sanskrit means corpse. And it's the last pose because it's the integration of everything, which is the same thing as that final moment of death, right? And it's when everything that happened, and now I'm here letting everything go. So that surrendering will be really good to start to begin with, just to let go, just be in your corpse pose. I mean, there's yoga videos everywhere. And then if you go to any yoga class or watch any yoga class, or even Google Shavasana, right? You can get that posture of the corpse. And that will be a great way to start, because it's a moment, you're not dying, but you are surrendering everything. Like you're letting your body be heavy. You're connected to your breath. And even at some point when you start to sink into that Shavasana, your breath goes away and starts just to be natural as your body wants it to be. And then your mind will probably wander the first couple of breaths, and then it'll go away too. And then you really sink into that death. And then for that 5 minutes that you're in Shavasana, you will experience that total surrender that it is death. Because when we are dying, there's no fighting, right? Like when it comes, it comes. And then we either go peacefully or we fight it. But it's up to us and our process and our history and how this is happening. So it's, in my opinion, Shavasana is a good way to reenact or bring in that surrender that is going to happen when we have to go, when it's our time. And then also, there's also like really good literature in the Buddhist. They talk a lot about death and the process of death and how to get prepared for death. And we're never ready. That's the thing, right? Like we will never be ready, because we can be talking about it right now, and then tomorrow a loved one passes and I'm going to be in all sorts of pain and discombobulation. But it's also to know that that is going to happen. And even though I'm not ready, I will do the best that I can, so that when that moment comes for me and for my loved ones, I have the satisfaction of being able to remember and feel that I did everything that I had to, and nothing held me back from it. So there's no regrets and there's no tardiness, and I'm doing the best that I can in the present moment while I can, before this moment comes, and then there's nothing else that I can do in the body, at least.
Yes, and also if we bring that in our practice, when we are releasing an identity or those forms, those ways of thinking that we had, like sometimes we reach this point where we are not doing anything. Like it's kind of, we are pushed by universe. Okay, this is a time for you to not do anything. Be with yourself, rest, being present. It's like the hibernation that the birds goes during winter. So for us also, it's kind of start practicing that part in our life. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's great too, because it's honoring the cycles, right? I have creative cycles where I'm really active, And then I'm stretching those cycles because I have to finish a deadline and I have to continue with that creation that I'm doing. And then there's the end of that. And then there's a quiet time. And then we should honor all of that. And as we honor those cycles and be very observant of what our body and our mind and our spirit, they're telling us, right? And I'm laughing because for me, last week was one of those weeks where I had to stop and I couldn't, but I had to, and I had no choice. So then it's like a mini death again, right? Like I had to, I was forced to, then I did what I did, and then I'm back. And then this new version of myself is here doing the best that I can. But in spirituality, or when you want to practice those things of letting the old version go, could be really painful because we're attached to, well, the ego, and the mind's going to start tricking us, right? Saying like, are you sure you want to forget that? And you know, you're not going to have any identity, and they're not going to remind you, they're not going to remember you for whatever identification you have, like the yogi or the teacher or the whatever, right? When all of that is just part of an identity that is not the essence, because the essence is what prevails. So what I would recommend as an exercise or a good practice is to be really observant and mindful of where you are, who you were, and not worry about who you're going to be, because you are already, and then you're not going to be anything that you are not. So it's more like connecting really to who you are, and then you will have the best possible outcome every time. Just taking those layers off. And that's what the healing work does, really, just to go down to the core of you and then your essence, and then so you can be able to live from that place. And that is embracing life, embracing death, and embracing everything at its maximum capacity, because you're living from your true essence, from your soul, and not from society's opinions or parents' opinions or expectations, right? You are really, really exercising your privilege that was giving it into this embodiment.
Wow. And with everything, what would you like to share with the audience, Adriana? Like a practice, I know you have something prepared. It's a guided meditation. So
yeah, so it's a very short and easy exercise, and it's to connect with yourself by grounding. We need to be grounded in order to be here now, right? Going back to the very beginning, to enjoy the present moment. If I am not grounded, my energy is all scattered. So if you think about, if you've ever been to a yoga class, a lot of the teachers begin the yoga class by chanting Om, or by like making the person sit and get back to the breath. So that is grounding. That is, so you leave everything that you're coming with to the class, and then you're being in the present moment, ready to receive. And I mean, it's a pretty easy example to illustrate what I'm trying to say. And the same thing when you're going to meditate. Everything is a lot easier if you connect, if you ground. And if you're grounded, then automatically you are at the present moment. So it's a very simple technique that you can do 1,000 times a day, like I do it, because I keep bringing myself back to the present moment when my mind is worrying about tomorrow or a month in advance and suffering in advance, or when I'm thinking of someone that is not even perhaps in my life and I'm feeling guilty for something that maybe that even person doesn't remember, or those tricks that the mind is playing. So grounding may come back to this moment. And then also, after a moment of overwhelm, right, after a busy day or lots of calls, or like basically we're so stimulated, technology, people, stress, pandemic, like all of that makes us leave. So you name it, right? So many ways that you can just leave. So to come back and ground, there's there's so many ways to do it. A very easy way could be perhaps just to remove your shoes and then just go with your barefoot. Just go barefoot on the soil and then just stand there, connecting with your eyes closed, feeling the ground, the soil, the dirt on your feet.
Mhm.
Some people won't like that, and sometimes you can't do that, right? Like you don't have that opportunity, or to hug a tree. So if you're not outside, you can do this exercise that I will share with you right now. So we're gonna start by, you can do it sitting down, you can also do it from standing, or you could even do it laying down. And if you were to use Shavasana as an example, you totally could, to integrate that surrender and allow your body just to really sink into the planet and the energy that we'll be sharing there with in an exchange with Mother Earth. So for that, you'll probably need a yoga mat, maybe a blanket to roll behind your head so your neck is not is not bending really hard and uncomfortable. I mean, you always want to be as comfortable as you can, but sitting down is good, and we're gonna do it sitting down right now.
Perfect.
So as we find a comfortable position sitting down, just observe your breath. Make sure that your shoulders are away from your ears, that your spine is long. Don't try to change anything, just observe how your body is at the moment. Are you breathing really short, like up to your chest? Or are you breathing all the way down to your belly? Does your mind feel scattered or feels really centered? Just do a quick assessment of everything. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Are you hot or cold, or are you perfectly content with the temperature? Perhaps there's any pain in your body. And if there's anything that is uncomfortable at the moment, just bring your breath to that area with ease and compassion, as this area is trying to communicate something to you. Now you're going to feel your skin as a container that holds you in. And you're also going to feel your clothes and your body on the surface of perhaps a chair or a mat or a bed or whatever you are. And now I invite you to bring all your attention and your awareness to that little pause that your body makes before exhalation happens. It's a very subtle pause, almost imperceptible, and I do not want you to change it or control it. I would like you to observe it. And as you observe this pause, you can observe how your breath starts to slow down, how your body starts to relax more and more. And perhaps your breath becomes longer than your chest, going all the way down to your belly. And if it starts to wander, just allow it to happen without fighting it. And just coming back to your breath, observing that little pause that your body makes before exhalation happens. Now you're going to visualize yourself and feel or imagine whatever comes naturally and organically and easy, because there's no incorrect way to do this. So visualize, imagine, feel that roots or tubes are growing from the heels and the balls of your feet all the way down to the core of Mother Earth. And energy from the center of the core of Mother Earth is entering through your feet all the way up to your legs and your torso, up to your head, and exiting your body through your head, going back down to the center of the core of Mother Earth. So it's activating a loop, and you're going to recreate this loop a couple more times. So bringing the energy through your feet up from the center of Mother Earth, all the way up to your head, exiting through your head, all the way down back to her core. You can do it a couple more times at your own pace. And even if it feels good, you can pair it with your breath as you inhale, bringing all the energy up. And as you exhale, returning that energy back to Mother Earth. And the next inhalation, you're going to receive Mother Earth's energy. Fills you up, clears you up, brings you into the present moment. And as you release whatever is not longer serving you, exiting through your head and send it back to her core so she can process that and take care of it and transmute it. Now you're going to bring all your focus and awareness to your crown chakra, into the head. And you're going to imagine, feel, or visualize whatever works for you, a tube or a root growing from the center of your head, your crown, all the way up to the center of the universe. And energy from the center of the universe starts to pour through your head, down towards your feet, exiting your body through your feet, and going back up to the center of the universe, creating a loop. As you are grounded, as you're connected to Mother Earth, now you're bringing in all the infinite possibilities of abundance, joy, all the divine qualities that you have within that are being activated by this universal flow of light and love. At times, feeling all that universal love being poured from the center of the universe to your head, all the way down to your feet and back to the center of the core of the universe. And we're gonna feel both energies entering our body at the same time. From the center of the core of Mother Earth, entering through our feet, and from the center of the core of the universe, entering through our head, and both of them mixing up on the heart. And when they mix up on the heart, they expand your aura, your energy field to its maximum capacity. So you're back to being present, connected to the infinite possibilities, and in full expansion, because that is your nature. That is your natural state. So as you feel this expansion grow to its maximum capacity, you will allow whatever needs to be released at this moment, and whatever needs to be integrated from Mother Earth and Father Universe to be integrated at this moment as well. And you can ask yourselves and your physical brain to record this feeling of expansion as your natural state, so that you can keep coming back to this state whenever you feel contracted or whenever you need to be present. Take a couple more breaths, feeling that expansion. Remembering that this is who you really are, grounded, expanded, and connected to the infinite possibilities of universal love. And slowly start to come back into your body, feeling your skin containing your whole being. Your clothes touching your skin, your breath. Perhaps you feel like taking long, deep breaths, grounding the energy, bringing you here and now. Perhaps wiggling your toes or moving your fingers, or slightly movement to the left or the right with your body, whatever feels good to you right now. Stretch. And only when you're ready, with no rush, you can open your eyes. And check. I always like to check, right? How you feel now compared to when you started.
Thank you so much for sharing this practice, Adriana.
You're
It
welcome.
feels peaceful and with lots of clarity.
You are very welcome. And it's really simple. And if you don't have a whole lot of time, I mean, you can always do it quick, right?
Yes.
You can just go connect, expand, right? Back to your center. And if you have time, is nice just to feel that. And then sometimes maybe I will add like a golden light to surround you. If you feel like you need that protection or whatever your intuition calls, really, it's very free and open. But
Yes.
main goal is to be grounded and then just have that clarity and then feel that expansion. Because when we are not grounded, when we're scattered and when we leave, we're contracted, and that is not our natural state.
Yes. Yes. And that's very important what we just said. Sometimes we are scattered, we are everywhere and we are not here, and we are not present. So it's so important to be grounded always. So that's a beautiful, beautiful practice. Thank you so much for that. And what would be the final message or advice that you would like to share with the audience?
So my final message, thank you for this time. And it's an honor for me to share my little insight with you. Also, I would say to start getting grounded. That's a great way to begin. And ground as many times a day as you can or need or want. And from that place, you'll have the clarity to realize where are you living from? Are you living from your essence, or are you living from impositions or burdens or chains, right? Being present allows us to experience that clarity and be able to realize what are we doing with this privilege that we've been granted. So when the time comes, it'll be satisfying because we did as much as we could to enjoy that privilege.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So for the people that are watching us and listen to us, you will be able to access and visit Adriana's website and learn about her offerings. She provides different type of offerings: yoga, Akashic records, healing, and many other things. So I invite you to visit. You can go to her bio page and you will find all the details and the contacts that she has. So thank you so much again, Adriana. And well, I hope we have the chance to share this time again in the future.
Yes, thank you. What an honor. Have a good rest of your day, and everybody too. Bye-bye.
Bye.